If you're in the market for a high-performance convertible two-door, you have some choices. If you need to fit 4 people, well, your choices start to fade down a little bit. One of those choices is the Audi RS5. This is a high-performance drop-top luxury German, a lot of other things too that I could throw in there, like Schnell and Splugelblugel, which is a German word you probably don't know, so don't look it up. It is real though, I promise. Is this car worth the money though? We'll get into how much it costs in a bit, but first, let's get into how it drives. This is no meager runabout town, enjoy the sun at 30 miles per hour drop top. This is the aforementioned RS5. That means we're dealing with a pumped up version of Audi's A5 convertible, a pumped up version of even the S5. Under the hood, we have a 4.2 liter V8 engine, and it's good for 450 horsepower and about, I think, 317 pound-feet of torque or so. It's paired with a 7-speed gearbox, which is the typical love it or hate it Audi gearbox when you're dealing with their automatics. The best way to drive this car is not to leave it in drive because it just hunts for the best fuel economy, not to leave it in sport because it just hunts and stays at the red line, but to drive it in manual mode. Shift it yourself, that's how you're going to enjoy this car to its fullest potential. And when you do, the gearbox is great. It shifts quickly, it cracks them off, you get a nice pop on downshifts, so it's enjoyable in that mode. In the other modes, when you're just cruising, it's all right. You can overcome some of the dullness of drive by putting your foot down. You can overcome some of the ridiculousness of the sport mode by letting off. I mean, it's a weird issue I have with these gearboxes, and it extends to the Volkswagen side of the family too. But that's neither here or there because V8. Wee! Now, Audis typically are conservative when it comes to their exhaust note. The R version of the cars, like this and the RS7, kick things up a notch. They don't go buck wild, but they do give you some noise. But it's still, this could be so much more in the oral excitement department. Take, for example, a car like the Bentley Continental, I believe it's the GTS, that has the same motor as the RS7, which is just a bananas car, as you guys already know. The exhaust note on that Bentley, same motor, that car sounds like a hot rod. It sounds so good. In the Audi, you get some good notes if you really put your foot into it. You have to listen for them. In the Bentley, you don't have to listen. The car shouts at you and tells you to go faster and spend more money and be just a more amazing 1%er. But that's kind of been Audi's MO from the get-go. They've always kind of been that subtle cool or that subtle sports sedan, you know? And that's where that softer exhaust note comes from. So I can see why they would keep it that way, because that's probably what their most ardent, hardcore fans want. Me, I want loud. But again, since this is an Audi, another great feature we have, Quattro all-wheel drive. So that means you can throw this thing into corners. This car's fitted with a sports differential as well, so it's throwing torque here and there. And it does it well. It meters it out nicely. You feel in all weather that you can conquer all turns. Now, another nice feature of any Audi is that it has an interior that is simplified luxury. That might be a good way to put it. There's nothing ostentatious, but it doesn't feel like a poor person's car either. The leather on the steering wheel is nice. The bits of piano black mixed with carbon fiber, because this is an RS5, but they don't overdo the carbon fiber. The little bit of silver trim around the bezels of the equipment here in the center stack, it looks good, and it doesn't, again, shout, and it's, you know, falling in line with the Audi plan for things for their cars. So the cabin is good. The engine note is okay, the engine itself is fantastic, and the gearbox is best when driven in manual mode. So how much are you gonna pay for something like this? Well, this bitch don't come cheap, let me put it that way. As equipped, this car has a few options like those gorgeous black wheels and a few other bits and pieces here and there. This car is $86,000. $86,000. That's a ton of money for this car. I don't know if I'd see myself, if I were in the market for something like this, I think I'd have to go with the Corvette. Or, you know, I don't know, there's other choices out there in this space. I mean, you won't get the back seats. You know, this is a 2+2 essentially, but you better have legless friends to sit in the back seat. It's just so much money. Yes, it's fun. You can do, this car performs very well on your favorite canyon roads. You can hustle this thing despite it weighing what I'm guessing is as much as, you know, a small baby whale. But even with all that, you can still move it around a little bit. It's got the dynamic steering. Actually, it's got, you know, dynamic engine, transmission. You can adjust it with the drive select mode. You can put it into a comfort mode. You can put it into a dynamic mode, and it adjusts a lot of features actually when you pull it up on the screen. My favorite is to set the individual one so I can adjust the engine and transmission, the steering, the sport differential, and the engine sound. I put almost everything in dynamic, but I leave the steering in automatic so that if I'm just cruising around town, it's nice and light. On the highway, it's light enough as well. But if you pick up speed and you're putting in more turning effort, and the car senses all of that, and it tightens up. And it does a good job of it because these electronic power steering systems just continue to get better and better. So I don't think there's a ton of bang for the buck here. There's a good amount of bang, but it's a shitload of buck. On the flip side, for a little bit more money, I've also been spending time with the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT, a car we've driven in the past, but you'll see why I'm driving it again real soon. That car is, you can have it for $99,000, the base one. The one I'm driving is about $110,000. That's not that much more than this car if you think about it. So if you can afford an $86,000 car, you might be able to afford a $99,000 car. And in that case, you now have an Aston Martin. Another great feature we have, Quattro all-wheel drive. Quattro. You feel in all weather that you can conquer all turns. And I think that Audi should put that in their ad. That should be a tagline. Conquer all turns in all weather. You can pass people who are going too slow, like this ES300H, which clearly they hate driving because they have an ES300H. So if you can afford an $86,000 car, you might be able to afford a $99,000 car. And in that case, you now have an Aston Martin. So, I mean, yeah, if something breaks on the Aston, you're just